Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Learn user group. I'm Scott Anderson. I'm one of the liaisons from the Center for Teaching Excellence. And today we've got Kevin Markle from the School of Accounting and Finance, who's going to be talking about some online components that he did in his face-to-face class, AFM 361. And we've got Heidi Engelhardt, who will be presenting second, who's going to be talking about some academic integrity quiz that she used in her biology course. We are webcasting these presentations. So when we have questions, we'll pass around this mic so that the questions get captured. And without any further ado, and for our for anybody watching, if you can send questions to mary.power@uwaterloo.ca, and then we'll get your questions in the queue if you have any. Yeah, okay. So without any further ado, here's Kevin Markle.
Thank you. That's funny because that's actually where I send all my questions anyway, so that works out perfectly. In getting ready to do this, I'm also playing around with Prezi. I don't know if any people have been exposed to Prezi. It's an alternative presentation software which is pretty cool. I learned it from my 12-year-old niece. And this is my second time using it. So I just went to their site and I chose one of their sort of standard layouts. And I think this is sort of like an ink blot thing, right? You can either see this as a man or a person throwing their thoughts out to the universe and the universe accepting them or not, but they're out there to be consumed. Or you can see it as a person being buried alive and asking somebody to please help me, I'm about to die. So I wanted to, I'm happy to do this. There's a few things you need to know about where it's coming from. And actually, I've realized I've left off a few things here. The first thing is, this is the first time I ever taught at Waterloo. Just finished my PhD, and so I thought, I'm coming in and I'm baggage-free. And so what I want to do is I want to try to see, I'm not an anti-establishment person at all, but I said, why don't I just see if there are better ways or other ways to do things, because people will forgive me if I fall flat on my face. It's my first time. The second thing is that I inherited a course. It's a third-year course required in tax. And the way the course had been run, and so that I was not going to change this, was class time was problem take-up. And one of the most common feedbacks they'd gotten over the years was, we have to learn this stuff on our own. The expectation is that the student goes away, reads the textbook, digests it all, learns it all, tries the problems, and shows up with tried problems, and then we'll walk through the problems. So I looked at that and I said, okay, it's possible that can be improved on. We could maybe help them digest the textbook material, but time in the classroom is a problem. I had, through other channels, come across this thing called the Khan Academy. And if you haven't heard about it, it is I guess you could describe it as controversial, but it is absolutely amazing what this young man has done. And if you have children between the ages of 5 and 18, you're probably going to want to go over there. Actually, you're going to want to go over there, because I guarantee you can learn lots and lots of things. And basically, his idea is that we can use technology as a very positive tool. And so basically, everything I'm going to show you that I did is ripped off entirely from the Khan Academy. So if you ask me, why did you do it that way? Why did you do it that way? I'll say, because that's the way Khan Academy was doing it. I Googled, how's he doing it? What tools is he using? And that's what I did. Other thing you should know about me is that I do love technology. One of my favorite things in the world is bringing home a new toy, opening it, and playing with it for the first time. So a new computer, I just love the feeling. However, as it comes into education, it becomes controversial. And actually, on the way over here, I got an email from a colleague forwarding to all of us over at the School of Accounting and Finance this new article that has come out saying, I didn't get to read it, but the title of the article is something along the lines of students prefer good lectures to all these new fandangled technology toys. And I am not in the camp of the old is bad and the new is good. I am not in that camp. I believe that there are tools out there that we can use, and technology is one of them. and it can be used very badly, is being used very badly, but is being used well. My intention was to look for people using it well and emulate them. I am also, I should have changed that setting on my computer, I am not a perfectionist. And why will that will come in when I show you what I did with the videos. If you are someone who needs everything to be perfect, you will drive yourself crazy trying to do some of these things, because you just have to be able to accept your flaws. So the first thing that we did, that I did was, as I mentioned, there was no lecture in the course that I inherited. So I came up, I said, you know what I'll do is I'll have these, what I called them pre-lectures, online that they are required to watch as much as they're required to read the text, right? So I'm not monitoring them, but I'm saying this is required. It's expected that you're showing up to class having read this. And my intention is for it to be my aid to you in digesting the textbook material. It is not a substitute. It's supposed to be a complement to your work. So here's the first example. They go to the Learn site. I'm not going to bother walking you through that, but they go to the Learn site, and right there in the content, they click on a link, and this is what comes up for them. So I hosted them all on YouTube. You don't have to do that. We can talk about the technology. This is what comes up, and they can watch. So this is me working on my tablet, writing in my office, talking to a microphone in my office. There's me erasing. And so they can watch this on a computer, they can watch it on a phone, they can watch it on an iPad, they can watch it anywhere that they can watch, they can get YouTube. They're also all very good at downloading these things, so they all figured out how to get it offline for themselves. And so that was the first thing that we did. Okay, so this was before every class. I put up one of these things. My goal was for them to be 10 minutes, and I'll talk about that later. So what do you need to do this? You need a computer. Pretty sure everybody's got one. You need Camtasia, which is the program that lets you do all the recording. And I just actually bought my new one 2 days ago, and it's dropped in price. It used to be $120 for the last version. Now it's $90, and that's a good deal. It's like $150 for other people. But for us, the school at ITS has a license for us, and it's $90. And then you need a microphone, which I'll talk about more. You can use your computer microphone, but you do not want to. So that's all you need. Now, obviously, to be able to write and do the handwriting like I did, you need a device that can handle that. Those are becoming more and more ubiquitous, so I expect that that's not going to be a problem. But most people use this stuff, use Camtasia, for what they call voice-over PowerPoint. So I picture myself in the classroom, and I'm talking, and the students can see me. You can add webcam. Khan doesn't. Khan says, my face would only be distracting. Why do they need to see my face? So I adopted that and said, I agree, my face would be distracting. So I don't have my face ever showing up in my videos. But Camtasia lets you do it easily. I'm not saying why it would be distracting, either good or bad, I'm just saying. So then the other thing is, so how do you kind of, just like textbooks, and this is not really unique to the technology, but I said, here's what I'll do. I will set up a quiz before each class, and basically based on the video. So if you've watched the video and done the reading, I expect you to be able to whiz through this quiz. And the idea was these were not graded. They were not part of their grade. So you go there, answer as best you can, and then we'll come into class. So they go into the Learn site. They complete the quiz. These are, didn't need this slide. I think you guys know what quizzes look like in Learn. Then we started every class with the results of the quiz. And basically said, okay, here's what we know. We know that 82% of the class got this right, and it was one of the right answers. I feel like we don't need to talk about that. Okay, but these things where people went way off the, I don't know if I have one actually on this slide, so this was right, but only half of the people who answered the quiz thought it was right. Let's talk about that. So it seemed, I mean, in principle, it was fantastic. And it worked well for the first few weeks. And then the students got busy. And the students, as I'll show you in the comments at the end, they said, at the end, we've kind of figured out that it didn't matter how we did on the quizzes, and so we clicked randomly. And I figured it out early enough on so that I didn't waste our time in class anymore, but I said, you know, we destroyed the usefulness of the tool because the data going in was no good, so we couldn't rely on it anymore. But that was one thing that I need to figure out how to get them to do it, but that's, I mean, we all deal with that all the time. The second part that we did was I was meeting with my TAs, and again, in the past there were no tutorials in this class. What they did was every once in a while the professor would schedule an ad hoc thing and hold it in a classroom. And the people who had taught it previously told me, here are the numbers, here's how many people showed up. And I said, well, I've got these TAs, I've got these great TAs, when should we hold our tutorials? And so we were trying to schedule, well, Fridays, but over in the School of Accounting, nobody has classes on Fridays. So Fridays are the weekend. And so my TAs, who kept me well in line, said, if you hold it on Friday, they won't come. Nobody will come. And because they're optional. They're completely optional for the student's aid. So I, again, was like, wait a minute. Let's do this online. So the TAs were game. We said, let's do it online. So I first thought, let's do it by Skype. Everybody that generation, they all know Skype. They all know this. But Skype limits you to 25 people on a call at a time. And my goal was, out of 340 students, to have more than 25. So it turns out that we all have access to something called Adobe Connect. And so we ran our tutorials on using Adobe Connect. Now this, I'm going to show you, is my video to them, showing them how to sign into the tutorials. So this is up at the beginning. And the reason I'm showing you this is just so that you can kind of understand the usefulness. If you don't want to do pre-lectures, if you don't want to do anything else, if you have Camtasia, you have access to this beautiful tool that says anytime I want to show them how to do something or communicate anything that I know is in a way that they can understand, you can do it. You can show them their screen. It's like they're standing behind you in your office. Okay? So again, and Camtasia lets you edit. I haven't played with it at all, but there you go. Okay? But now, before I go to this, I don't know how to pause. Before I pause this, before I go to the next one, the reason I'm going to show you the next one is the first tutorial. And the first thing I want you to notice when we were looking at that tutorial is how bad the sound is. So unfortunately, I had set the TA up with a good microphone, but she didn't set it up right. So as we go there, you'll notice this. So this is the very first online tutorial. Even if you have headphones on, you can barely make out what she's saying. But what this is this is our online tutorial. So here are the students. They're able to chat. This is something we didn't control very well, so this got completely out of control. Had nothing to do with the class, but we fixed that. This tells us who's there. And for our first one, we had like 78 students attend. So I think we ran these. To be honest, I can't even remember when we ran them now. We polled the students and we chose the one that, it was either Sunday night or Monday night, I can't even remember. So there are 78 students there. But I will tell you that by the end of the term, we had 7 students showing up, which is not, so the other thing about this is these are recorded and posted. So I don't know how many students bothered watching the recordings of these things, but I think based on the feedback the students gave me, the number was low. So this was something that I won't do again. Yeah.
Are they in there as content so you can track how many people access them?
That's a little bit trickier, but no, not through Learn. They're not in there as content. And there may be a way to do that. We've been trying to figure that out, but YouTube will count how many people have seen it, but it won't tell me who. But there's probably a way we could get it into Learn. I personally, I didn't really care. I had put it out as a resource, but obviously we don't want to be throwing resources where people aren't using them. And so I won't do this again. I'm going to divert my TA resources because I think it's great. Any student who used it, I think, benefited a lot. But the students just don't see value in it. They didn't see as direct a link to their success. But I still think it was very valuable. The TAs did a fantastic job. They worked hard. The slides were great. But I think it was an unused resource. And it may be that there was too much. There was too much for them to consume. I don't know. Okay. So then, at some point in the term, someone came along. One of the students said, is there any way you could record class? So what I was doing, and I said no. And then I said, well, wait a minute. That's counter to my whole philosophy of let's try things. And so what you need to understand is in class, this is what I was doing. I was using my tablet. So this OneNote, if you don't know OneNote, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. This OneNote notebook is my entire class. So there's class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. So we're looking at class number 3, and here are the 5 sections. And this is the whiteboard from class. So I never write on the actual whiteboard, or write on the tablet, and I can come in here and I can say, you know, everybody look here, and I can write whatever I want, and the Lenovo tablet is fantastic. Of course, handwriting is a problem. My co-teacher, here's his whiteboard. So the students really wanted him writing on the real whiteboard. My handwriting is not good, but as a relative measure, it's fantastic. So this is what I was doing, and then I realized, well, wait a minute, if I'm doing this, there's no reason I can't record class. So no video again involved, but I had this microphone. I had this microphone for recording my videos, because one thing Khan says is your audio has to be fantastic. So I went out and got it's not the best microphone you can get, but I got a good microphone. And I said, well, wait a minute, if I have that, why can't that just be sitting in class? So that's what we did, and I said, I am not going to change anything about what I do in class. You need to understand that. But sure, I'll record it, and I'll post it to YouTube. There's no cost to me. I don't see a downside. Of course, people raise the downside, well, won't that stop students from coming to class? And I say to that, if they don't see value in coming to my class, I don't think they should come to my class. I mean, I want them to think that being there is better than listening to recording. And that's how the numbers played out. There was 0 effect on attendance. Not that we have great attendance over at the School of Accounting and Finance, don't get me wrong, but it did not go down because of this. Did they make use of the recordings? Well, you'll see in the feedback, some, but not much. And I'll show you that. So it's a great question. So again, I view it as a resource that they can use. So I probably will do this again. I'm not sure, but I probably will, because it's very costless to me. There's very little cost to me. And so in terms of resources, like TAs, we're paying them a lot of money. And it's their time and their learning, and so that's not costless. This is fairly costless. So here's what a class recording looked like. And I won't, but you need to understand, this is not altered in any way for video presentation. Because we don't have a copyright question issue today, I brought the question in. So this is just like a screen in the class. The students are sitting there, and this is the screen in class, although the zooming in Camtasia did on its own. I don't know why. But here I am teaching and making mistakes and doing attendance and all these other things. But then this is posted. Also, the recording of the video is posted, as well as the OneNote notebook is posted. So if you're someone who thinks that we need to withhold resources from students, you and I are in different camps at this point. At least that's the philosophy I have right now. I don't know if I'm a strong believer in it, but I'm becoming a stronger believer based on my conversations with the students. So going to your question, what did the students think of all of this? Well, I surveyed them at the end, in addition to the school surveys, and got about 50% feedback, so got 180 students or so letting me know things about the course, and I asked them specifically about the online stuff. So I basically said there are 5 things that we did. Online quizzes, we posted these OneNote notebooks, both in OneNote and Evernote, and then we used the tablet in class. We had these pre-lectures, and we recorded class. Please tell me, what did you think of these? Individually would be great, overall would be great. So I've gone through the comments, and they are fairly, I'm confident in saying, fairly universally positive about most of it. So here's the most representative comment I got. I think these were all amazing assets for the course. I love them completely. Second, so this is a bit more, so I'll just highlight. So this person did what I asked and went one by one. So the online quizzes. Online quizzes are great, but you need to figure out a way to stop students from clicking randomly. Otherwise, the information is of no use. And I think I'm on to something for that, but we'll see. Notes posted. This became the general, a very common feedback. Personally, I didn't use them. It was better to take notes in class. So most students that I talked to said, I did not rely on your notes. I did go and check against them from time to time to make sure that I had a number right or I had something right, but I did not, they were not my primary source. My notes were my primary source. The use of the tablet, very excellent, better for the eyes, easier to see. Pre-class videos, 100 out of 100. I got an A on pre-class videos. So this, and I have to say, I mean, I have no vested interest in this, But I'm thrilled that it went the way that I wanted it to go, because so much of what I did in the class didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. But this, they really liked the concept. And there were very few people who said, and I'll show you one who said they didn't like it. Recording of classes, this is great. I doubt many people used it, and I think that's true. YouTube tells me that's true. The hit counts were small. Understand that I had 340 students, and the average hit count for my pre-classes is in the 800s. So students were watching it, some students weren't watching them at all, and several students were watching them at the time and then again for exam review, because they sit there for them. But this is great. Most people don't do this. We are very, very busy people. It's too long to sit back and watch an 80-minute thing, but it is heartwarming to know that there was backup plan. Isn't it heartwarming? So here's my one. I went to try to find one that was overall negative, and this was the best that I could do. They were not effective. Same reason we know. The video notes are not easy to read. I'm guessing he was in my colleague's class. No, mine are terrible too. The tablet is. But if you have nice penmanship, I mean, oh, it'd be so great. I don't, and I wish I did. The tablet is difficult to keep up with this. So this is someone who didn't like, because nothing comes for free. If you're using the tablet in class and not the whiteboard, they can't see everything you've done. You have to scroll, just like if you were showing them a document at a time. So nothing comes for free. The pre-class videos are way too long, and after watching them, I don't feel like I really understand the entire concept. That's fair. I did not do a good job at keeping them concise. And the recordings of class are relatively useful, so he was countered, or he or she was countered to the other people. So I'm done after this slide. Here's what I've learned. 1, audio quality is really important. So a Skype headset, anything that is not your built-in microphone is a necessity. Because everything I've read, bad audio means bad, people just don't want to watch it. Videos should be 10 minutes long, and I was given this advice, and that was my goal, but it's hard. But as I go back and I prepared for this presentation, my pre-lectures are not good. They all are too slow, and they're too they're not concise. And so I think I could have gotten the information across in 10 minutes easily if I had tried harder. The novelty does not go far. The students were excited a little bit in the beginning. Yeah, this is new, this is interesting. But the novelty of it did not keep them going on it, at least in my experience. This is just, truisms, I think. Some will like it and some won't. I do not think I'm going to, I actually have no desire for this to be the way that it's done. This matches my personality. I don't mind being on a video making a mistake. I don't mind having things, cracking jokes, and like I say things in class that are sometimes borderline inappropriate. Those are now recorded for all time. I'm okay with that because I feel like it's part of who I am. But for other people, that's something to think about. And then these online tutorials, at least for now, making them mandatory would be, I think it would, the students, if it was mandatory and online, I think you're onto something. If it's optional and online, I think students see it as, it's so easy, I can not even plan, and then by the time they get there, oh, I can't spare that hour and a half. So somewhere in the medium there is, if your tutorials are important to your class, you would want to think about that. And that's what I have. I hope I didn't go over time. All right. So,
Can I ask?
yeah.
Yeah, just a suggestion on your quizzes.
Yeah.
I do online open book quizzes.
Online, open book. Yeah.
Online open book. They're available for at least a week, and then they're not available. So they follow the material.
Yeah.
So the minute I teach it, the quiz opens.
Okay.
And there's 12, and they are total 5%. So each quiz is worth 0.416667
Okay.
a mark.
And they get one attempt?
One attempt, and that 0.42 is a motivator, believe it or not. Maybe not for accounting people who can figure out how insignificant it is.
No, no, no.
For biologists, it's
Our
a
guys
really
go to
strong
8
motivator.
decimal places. Don't worry about
Oh, no,
that.
they chase that. And one question on a quiz is worth 0.042 of a mark, and they will chase it.
Right, oh, for sure. Okay, so yeah, there's absolutely that part of it. The problem we have is multi-sections, multi-closing, sharing of information, right? There's no way, if you're going to test, if you're going to use online for evaluation, your ability to monitor is
But
gone.
I don't care.
Yeah, if you don't care, that's fine, but yeah.
You say that for some of these efforts, some students like them and some students don't.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you dismiss the attempt, because only half the class likes it.
You mean my attempt?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't, I mean, overall, I was very pleased with the upfront investment. I think I want to learn from the ones who don't, and I want to learn from the ones who do. But I don't say, yeah, because not everybody liked it. No, yeah, the students are really varied.
Yeah, different learning styles mean that we have to accept that.
And thanks for raising that, because that is something that a lot of students raised. They said, this works for me. Whereas other, like I don't like to take notes in class. I just like to listen. And up until now, I've had nothing to rely on to study. And I think some of us dismiss those people and say, you're lazy or whatever, but we know that they have different learning styles. And so that was one thing. This, I think, supports more learning styles.
And I think the same principle holds for the student assessment forms at the end of the class. Because a half a dozen are furious, doesn't mean that you should change. Because you got 10 who are as happy as the others were mad.
Yeah, I agree. It's like running a country. Yep.
Comment on that, just as you're saying it. What you find is the outliers reply, and the guys in the middle don't. So the people that hate the course, put your feedback. The people that love it, put your feedback. And the ones your target is, the middle, they just go along and don't do anything.
No, I agree. And I actually I was intentional about seeking out, because it's not hard to find the keen students who like everything and want you to like them. So I had offline conversations with them, but I also sought out some students who never came to class, who failed my class, and asked for their feedback. And it's as valuable, right? But obviously anything that we do, an input to the evaluation of it is the student effort, the student engagement in it, and so it's.
I have a question and a quick comment.
Yeah.
Are you planning on showing any of this stuff like for the next class? Like you recorded your classes. Are you planning to put that up for the next offering?
Well, ideally they'd be good enough for me to do that, but I don't. I think I will go through them, and if there are any that survive, I will use them again. But I doubt many of them survive.
Okay. Related to that, we did this a couple of years ago with one of the courses one of my profs teach. Recorded all his lectures and made them available online, and then the actual lecture, physical lecture, was elaborating on that instead of teaching. So it says you're expected to have looked at these lectures ahead of time, and now I'll go over the question, ask me questions, and more of a hands-on, what did you miss in the lecture?
Yeah.
And what we found the next offering, there was a little bit less attendance at the lectures, and the students were saying, well, they watched the recorded lectures at faster speed. So they played it back, not in real time, so they could watch an hour lecture in 3/4 of an hour. And they weren't coming to class because they watched the lecture on So it's a trade-off.
Yeah. Well, and then there's one thing that, I mean, nobody really wants to talk about, but there's also a big issue of quality. I mean, one of my big concerns is that everybody will want to do this, and people who are not good at it will do it, and the students will. I'm not saying that I know that I'm good at it. I'm just saying people, maybe I'm one who is not good at it, and will do it, and will turn the students off of it. The one thing about Khan is that he is amazing at teaching. His intuition and his thinking, and we all have our ideas about what good teachers are and good teachers aren't, and that's will always be there. But that is one concern, that if we say, like, students will start to groan when we say, and it's expected that you will watch this 30-minute video before you come to class. I don't want that to be the case. So I really hope that we will be as aware of not wasting their time there as we are as not wasting their time in class. Yeah.
So we'll take this last question, but I'll start the switcheroo and get Heidi starting to get prepared, and you can answer.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you had one comment where somebody said that the pre-lecture was not useful for this person.
Yep.
Besides of that, do you have any notion whether all this additional media, whether that actually helped them understanding the learning content better?
I would love to have a way to measure that, but I don't.
Not even when your conversations with the students?
Oh, yeah, sure. I have tons of anecdotal evidence, and to be honest, the students at the top, like the students who were going to excel anyway, I think this is much of lower value. I think this is the middle of the curve kind of aid. And so the people that I talked to was like, this helped me. The other thing is the students didn't know the precondition, like what it was before. So they knew that the course before had no lecture. They knew that. But they couldn't really compare how much they would have understood without these pre-lectures. So they're kind of guessing and inferring. And I think for most of them, I think definitely for some students, this became a substitute to the textbook. And was not my intention. I imagine those students were somewhat harmed by me saying, here's something that is a little bridge to the textbook. They walked across the bridge but never went to the textbook. Now, whether those students would have read the textbook at all, I don't know. But anecdotally, I can say, yeah, students said that it helped their understanding, because the way that it was, the way that I did it was, I always thought about it as I have one student in my office and I'm walking through the concept. And so I was trying to make it as basic as I could.